People, deluded, I'm back again. Now, I've watched the Man United versus Arsenal draw at Old Trafford again. I'm sure you all saw yesterday and you've all got your opinions. I thought I'd offer my opinions using my good friend the Tactics board. I know some of you enjoy it, some of you think I'm talking absolute garbage, but for people that understand football, let's go through some talking points. As you can see, I'm still tired really, and I forgot to put the keepers on, but not that the keepers are relevant today. I feel watching the game again, I feel like, not an apology because I feel they played well, but I feel Socrates, Luiz and Chambers, I think they played better than what I gave them credit for my player rating. So I boost Socrates up to a 7. I feel Socrates, no one was amazing, but they had good games. I feel Chambers down the right-hand side did what he could in that wing-back row. And I don't want to play devil's advocate, and it's not a criticism of Emre in this particular instance or Chambers, but if it was an actual wing-back in that position, what could have happened? Because I might as well just speak about this first point. I feel, obviously, we're the away team people. We're blue, United are red people. Tashabi. Now, Arsenal fans know him. I swear he locked up Alexis Sanchez when he was at our club. He played well yesterday. But I feel, at a push, yeah, I do think we could have tested him a bit better with balls specifically over here. Because when they were on, you saw over his head he did have a bit of problems. And Chambers got a corner and a couple crosses in. I saw... sorry people, that's our team people. When the ball came in today, obviously I wasn't talking a pass from here. There was an incident, Xhaka just knocked it across to Chambers and it kind of banged. I saw Luiz and Socrates do it. So yeah, on Man United, I feel they did a good job stopping us playing out from the back. You saw Leno having to go long at times, and obviously when he went long to Aubameyang, when Aubameyang was through the middle, it's dead because we're not going to play. He's not got the best hold-up play, no criticism. Our team is set up kind of defensively today. He's going to be in a fight by himself, and more often than not, the numbers don't go like it's one man versus all them. It's not going to happen for him, people. And it was just going back to them quickly, which I like with Aubameyang. He quickly said, all right, cool, I'm going to link up with Saka on the flanks. Occasionally went on the right-hand side, and Saka and Aubameyang were combined into devastating effect. The best example for me is actually when they linked up and Pepe shot but blazed it over when he had more time than he believed he should, and he could have done a lot better. Before I forget, I think I said Aubameyang missed a chance in my player match review. Sorry, I don't think I did, but you know, you're just uncertain. That chance where Saka set up Guendouzi, where Guendouzi could have done better, but he was forced out wide. Saka should have scored that. But Saka was brilliant yesterday, man. Do you know what? When I look at the performance without emotion, people, I'm not going to lie to you. Obviously, I felt we could have played better. We could have started better. We could have potentially got something out of the game if we had a bit more intent. But at the end of the day, watching the game again, I saw a sort of compact game plan to kind of... I didn't like it, but we're allowing United possession and just trying to counter-attack them and whatnot. We walked away with a point at Old Trafford. Emre drew 3 times at Old Trafford. Now, as much as I think he could have been braver, we could have had more intent. We could have asked more questions down the flanks here, in particular, people into these spaces. What can I say in it? We walked away with a draw when I look at it without emotion. For me, I've kind of exaggerated and I'm putting these flat midfield 3 to make a point, people. Now... let's be honest, like, there's no, what's the word, man? There's no connection. I don't know the word, I'm moving like a freshie, but there's no connection with our midfield 3. I don't necessarily agree with the whole it's 3 DMs and they're negative, because I think Xhaka, Guendouzi and Torreira, yes, I would rather a creative midfielder or a cam in there, but I think they've all got enough on the ball to definitely offer slightly more than what they're doing in an offensive sense. And it's a bit baffling, man. Before I talk about these midfielders, it's an inconsistent press. I can't understand the point of pressing if man them are not going to press with you, because there was an incident, Aubameyang would press, Torreira's in the role here where he would press. Our midfielders didn't really know what to do in that regard, our wingers. So this is allowing United people to just come up the pitch. United were just coming up the pitch with this inconsistent pressing. And you saw United have a high line, people. And what really annoyed me, if I just disregard these midfield, the strikers and the wingers for a sec, people. What really annoyed me, in fact, not even disregard them, because Aubameyang can stay there. What really annoyed me, people, is... Lingard was further up here, let's exaggerate. we're outnumbering McTominay and Pogba in midfield. I think they did well. I think they did very well. What annoyed me is that simply all McTominay is doing, because we're not, the midfield three at times, we're all on the same side, people. We're literally all on the same side. Or at the times you see Xhaka's doing his thing, Guendouzi slightly forward, Torreira's there. If when Torreira isn't pressing as a striker, which we'll get onto in a bit, it's just, there's no, I don't understand what we're trying to do in midfield, and that's helping United. I feel, do you know how many times I saw our midfielders at 6s and 7s, and all McTominay had to do is just stand here, get between the lines, and he'll receive it off the centre halves. And he was just moving it forward. And you saw Pereira as well. Let's make him a bit deeper. Pereira doing the same thing. It's just, I can't understand specifically what we're trying to do in that regards, people. Daniel James obviously gave Chambers an eventful day as well. I have to mention that watching it again. What am I doing here, people? Yeah, man, what am I doing? There we go. That's my midfield three. Put them back. You can come on the wings and Aubameyang's up front. But it's an inconsistent press, people. You've got Torreira with Aubameyang, then you've got our wingers which are clearly told to stay here and do a 2 banks of 4. And we're just allowing, United are obviously going to beat this press and come further up the pitch into these danger men. And you saw how many times, people, we're just backing off and allowing shots, people. And you could argue United should have done much better. If we disregard Aubameyang for a period, people, I'm seeing Torreira in this role, playing up front. Now, he's being told to press and be that Ramsey, but he's square pegs in a round hole. There was an incident Torreira should have scored, but why is Torreira being told to press like that? Why are we, as a team, not pressing like this consistently, like getting actually pressing? We're allowing United to come up. Have I got 12 players on this field? No. We're allowing United to come higher up the field, people. You saw United's wingers were more fullbacks were basically here. We're playing the high line, people. They're beating the first trap, people. They're beating the first trap purely because we're not pressing correctly. And like I said, McTominay's just being smart. He's just standing there, like he's just standing here and receiving it off them. So I couldn't understand that, man. I was really upset with how he was playing in midfield because, like I said, midfield three, Sutter, man, we're all at the same side, and McTominay is just there ready to receive it. Couple times, Guendouzi doing his, Torreira's pressing, doing his thing. Guendouzi's there, Xhaka's there. There's way too many gaps in our midfield for my liking, people. And a lot of that comes down to Unai Emery. Big up Saka as well. I just could not understand the game plan beyond the fact that we're trying to counter-attack and remain consistent. Obviously, there's question marks over game management. I feel David Luiz and Socrates did all they could be asked. Kolasinac a couple of times scared me, but I don't really feel the defence was that poor watching the game again. There was even one incident, people. If I remove all of this, there was even one incident. Like I said, yeah. United had the joy of the part. They were just, their centre halves were loving it. But there was one time in particular. McTominay was there, Pogba was like there. You had Guendouzi, Torreira, and Xhaka. And how I know none of them really know what they're being told to do is because all three were looking around. And I think it's 21st minute, Guendouzi actually points and says, who's pressing? And he goes. And then you start to see the gaps again as people go into natural habits. Like, there's too many gaps in our midfield. That's the main point for me. It's too many gaps. And what I can't understand as well, people, is inviting shots. Like, I can't understand it. I get that Emery wants us to be compact and be rigid and all of these things. But in football, you can't allow shots at your goal. You can't. We're backing off. How many times are we backing off from these players, people? We're backing off from Pereira. We're backing off from McTominay, Pogba. We're backing off. The movement, we'll get onto it, but we're just backing off, people. You can't back off and allow people near your goal and invite shots. That was annoying me as well. We still have an issue with midfield runners. I mean, the way we conceded our goal, we conceded it from our own corner, people. We were counter-attacked. United gave us a couple of scares in the sense that when they were counter-attacking, like there was one Rashford messed up and Socrates did well to kind of put him off. But the counter-attacking was poor, people. We was being counter-attacked. But before we get on to that, the thing that really annoyed me is when we was getting in position, we was getting into what appeared to be two backs of four defensively. What really annoyed me is that you've got to follow midfield runners. You've got to follow midfield runners, people. People are ball watching. Let's just say the ball is here. The ball is here. United man in possession here. You've got to follow runners, people. You've got to. You've got to follow runners. It's like we're outnumbering them, but it's like people are not looking over their shoulder. So Lingard is simply just coming deep for the ball, and then other people are making runs. We're not following runners. I'm actually looking at these players specifically. And fair enough if they dad them on mine, but I'm seeing blinkers. I'm not seeing anyone really realizing that. Yeah, like we're come on now. Like there's midfield runners. I don't kind of blame the players today, to be honest with you. It just don't look like the game plan's there. Like I said, man, Aubameyang's pressing by himself, then Aubameyang's going out wide. You've got Torreira, who should be here ideally, pressing sometimes as a striker. You've got our wingers sometimes doing their own thing. You've got midfielders at 6s and 7s, really and truly, like I've already said. And then you've got our defence. You've got Chambers has played at right back, but he's clearly unnatural and showed that several times against James. You see the holes. Kolasinac is here. You can see how United, without putting 11 players onto the field, can take advantage of several gaps in this team to hurt us. Do you see it, people? Several. Even a ball over the top. Even into space. Do you see it? Several, people. And the game plan, I have to say, it looked like we were there with a defeative attitude. So we went there and got the point we wanted. What can I say? Pepe's decision making was appalling, as I already said. I've already showed the midfield runners. I've already showed being invited. Already showed space between fullbacks. Already spoken about the long ball. We know about the counter-attack. We're counter-attacked from our own corner, people. We're counter-attacked essentially from our own corner. And the initial move, I believe, broke down. United's broke down the initial move from the counter-attack before they scored. And what annoyed me is guys are back, but if you look at how we're getting back, we're scrambling. We're caught high up the field. Midfielders are in a left-back recovery position. We're at sixes and 7s, and I don't feel there was more we could have done for the goal beyond just being a bit more proactive. But when we realise it, and this isn't to scale, it's too late. Now, Socrates gets back well, but he realises where McTominay is when it's far too late. Pogba gives him the ball, I believe, and he hits it. Looking back, potentially could have Leno have done a bit more. I think Leno had a good game, but could he have done better for that goal? I think no, but I'm inclined to believe a tiny bit yes, to a degree, because it was a good strike, take nothing away from it. But watching it again, that's just honestly what I feel, people. What else? There was a couple of times, simple long balls, you know. There was one incident, a long ball, I can't even remember who. If I find the notes, I will. But there was an incident, so a United player just played a long ball, people. Literally, just played a long ball, and it presented us with issues. I think it was the 55th minute. It was a simple long ball out to the flanks, and then Guendouzi had to do well to kind of make a header or something. So we're being cut open by long balls in games at Old Trafford. Do I need to tell you why that's bad, people? I feel Tashabi did well from a United perspective. I feel McTominay did. I feel Lingard was crap, but his movement was alright if I'm looking at it again, people. Like I already said, we could have done better. Set pieces, to put it nicely, were appalling, people. I'm not going to bore you to death with that. Don't think I've missed out anything, to be honest. I've spoken about how Uniteds are running onto us. I felt United pressed us well, like I've already mentioned. I've already showed you the gap between Aubameyang. Just to exaggerate that a bit more, people. And this, because I just want you to that's the point I want you lot to take away from this. Because as long as our pressing isn't there, it isn't going to happen. You can't have Aubameyang pressing, Torreira doing that sort of thing. He's not really sure of what he's doing. Midfield is here and here. Wingers here, one there. Fullbacks here. Midfield, like I said, there's going to be gaps to exploit, which United did. Do you know how many times McTominay just stayed in the middle and made things happen, people? They're gonna harm us, people. They are going to harm us. And for me, it's the movement. Daniel James, for me, gave a lot of problems. Chambers did alright, but it's like, I don't get it, people. This is more or less our shape. Torreira is pressing as a striker, and there's times Aubameyang isn't there. Torreira is pressing. Now, Torreira is I'm taller than Torreira, which tells you everything. I'm a short guy. Like, he's not going to be a physical handful. Our crossing was poor as well. There was an incident in the 20th minute where Chambers and Luiz, I felt they put a decent bit of pressure on, but the crossing weren't that good. I don't know, man. I don't know what changes. At the end of the day, Emery went there with a game plan clearly, and I'm not gonna lie. Watching it second time round, I could kind of see what his approach was, and he got something out of the game. So how angry can I be? But for me, I can't take these sort of performances. I'm not saying don't think about Man United. I like that Emery thinks about the opposition, but we've gone for Arsene Wenger, who I love dearly. I'm not going to say he didn't think about them because, I mean, he was a professional manager, but he failed to recognise potential threats of the opposition. Now we've got a manager who's focusing too much on that. If he could find that balance, which at points he got last season, we'd be clear, because the game was there for the taking, people. The game was there for the taking. I feel both teams, there aren't really many positives. I feel both teams should feel they could win it. I feel both teams didn't really shoot in the first half, and when they did, they weren't. I think if you look at the game again, the quality of finishing from both teams was appalling. United fans will probably point to Rashford, but it was appalling. Just chance creation. The one bit of superb finishing, we got 1-1. We made it 1-1 and got something out of the game, and that was a very good move, to be fair with you people. For Aubameyang's goal before the linesman disallowed it. I'm sure I had something to say on that goal, people. Yeah, it's ironic, people, because it's ironic because how did the goal develop again? It's ironic because we were trying to play out from the back and it got discouraged, but eventually it comes from a long ball out here, or no, into here, I think, and Chambers did well, and he gives it to Pepe or something like that, I can't even remember, and it goes out for a throw-in. Then obviously you see Teixeira makes that mistake, Aubameyang exploits it. But long story short, it's ironic that a long ball kind of, it weren't the factor in us scoring, but that long ball that led to that throw-in, that led to that miscommunication, lapse of concentration with Axel Teixeira, who had a decent game at fullback, led to us scoring. So it is what it is, man. We walk away with a draw. Apologies for my alarm, people. It is what it is. We walk away with a draw. I would have ideally liked something a bit more commendable and respectable, but at the end of the day, we live to fight another day. We've got Bournemouth at the weekend on Sunday. We've got Standard Liège in the cup now. So what can we say but move forward at this point, people? On that note, people, Deluded, I'm out. Thank you for watching and rocking and listening to my tactical review. In short, we've just got for me, the main thing is the midfield. The midfield don't have a clue of what they're doing. They don't really know each other's jobs. They don't actually know individually what they're doing. There's too much of a mismatch. There's too many gaps. Midfield is so important, especially in today's market with the all action and dynamism of most teams. I feel the midfield is the one thing, the one scary point I've taken away from this game. And if I'm going to find a positive, I felt David Luiz played quite well. I think Sokratis had a good game, and I think Chambers in that role had a good game. He showed a couple incidences how he's not a right back, and Daniel James gave him moments, because like even when Chambers is being taken on as a centre half, your natural instinct is to retreat in these wide positions. Centre halves, we know he's played right back, but you don't want to be out there. And James kind of relished that. But I like Chambers. He did his thing going down there. Couple moments crossing, but he tried, innit? The right back thing is clearly not Chambers, but he did what he could. So the main thing for me is midfield. The main thing for me is games like this. We've got to look at how we're going to bring Aubameyang in, because we know Aubameyang's a good player and he scored a free kick in our last Premier League game before this, so he knows how to do dirt, people. But he's not really a striker you have down as creating your own goals. So if we're not going to be more on the front foot, be more quality in possession, then Aubameyang's kind of irrelevant, and it's going to be him working the flanks again. Now, he scored in this game and he linked up very well with Saka, but it's another game where if you're United defenders, you're happy that Aubameyang's out wide, similar to the Spurs game to a degree. So we've potentially got to look at what we can do. I want to see more fluid movement off the ball. I'm not going to discredit Emery and say we're not training on not rondos, but patterns of play, attacking phases of play. But I don't really see that, man. I'm not really seeing any telepathic movement and stuff like that. Things that was at this club, and I do think we're selling our attackers short, regardless of if they're actually scoring goals like Aubameyang, regardless of if they're in poor form like Pepe and things like that, or like Saka. Big up to Saka, and I'd actually rest Saka for the Europa League. I know he's young and he's good to go and whatnot, but I would rest him for the Europa League and play on the Sunday against Bournemouth. But on that note, there's not much more for me to add, so I'm gonna get out of here. People, Deluded, thank you for watching and rocking. Bang, bang. I didn't even lock it off.